A lot of people don't understand when you're using a therapy tool or a cognitive tool or a neurological rewiring tool in a specific setting, it actually can do the opposite effect.
She's not crossing the partner's boundary. The partner is having trouble being vulnerable and is putting up a boundary so that they don't have to go there. Hey everybody, it's Bianca.
And this is Emilia.
And welcome to another episode of Evolve Ventures, where we are making evolution possible for growth-minded humans like every single one of you that come here every single week through vulnerable lessons, stories, and technology. So today we are diving into 170. These therapy tools are toxic.
Oop.
I'm so excited for this episode, honestly, like a ridiculous amount. And the reason being is because of how often I see this happening with therapy clients of mine. So I'm going to dive honestly just right into it and kind of go into where I got this from. So I was on the phone with a client last week, and she was telling me about this problem that her and her girlfriend have been going through. Her girlfriend is in therapy. Her girlfriend is now starting to set boundaries and everything. It's amazing. It's incredible. But the problem that she's now having is that her girlfriend is setting boundaries around everything. Like, she's setting boundaries around basically telling her girlfriend, I don't want you telling me anything about your personal life. That's a boundary of mine. And my client is like, wait a minute. What am I supposed to talk to you about then? I don't understand. I don't understand the boundary. Can you help me understand? And she's like, nope, this is just a boundary. And if you cross it, you're a bad girlfriend. I'm like, oh my goodness. Okay. So in kind of hearing that, I was reflecting a lot on what else have I been kind of hearing in the media and in the news and from other clients and from other people in general. And there have been so many like buzzwords and concepts and ideas and topics that I'm just hearing everyone and their mother basically bring up. One of them is the topic of narcissists. Another one is the concept of like borderline, right? Another one is like people just gaslighting. Oh my god, we'll go into this. But like, throwing out diagnoses at people, like I've been so blown away by it. And I want to start off by saying I am so glad that these topics and these ideas and these theories are finally starting to get the recognition that they need. They're finally starting to be talked about because it is so important. But I think what comes with that is so many people are so misguided about what these things are and what they mean, and we're all being hurt by it. For example, in a friendship that I had a while ago, this person was telling me that I was gaslighting them because I was expressing, and that's why I like rolled my eyes. They were telling me that I was gaslighting them because I had just said I have a different opinion than you. And we were kind of having a debate about it. And I'm like, that's not gaslighting. You have your opinion. I have mine. I'm telling you I don't agree with you. That's not gaslighting. The client that I was telling you about, she's not crossing the partner's boundary. The partner is having trouble being vulnerable and is putting up a boundary so that they don't have to go there. And this is what I wanted to talk about today, because this is a very touchy topic. And Emilia and I, we were really having a conversation before of like, how do we bring this episode and like help people to navigate through this and to, use these concepts in a positive way. And so that's really what we're going to be diving into today. And the last thing that I'll say before I stop talking and let you go in is I really want to say this, and I really want everyone to hear me on this. Stop self-diagnosing people. The amount of people that I've heard say, and the amount of clients that I've heard say, well, my dad is this, and my mom is this, and my friends are all this, or like they're whatever, using it as like a justification for the person's behavior, or as a way to judge the person, or a way to whatever their intention is. It deludes from the significance of the diagnosis. Not everyone who has erratic behavior is bipolar. Not everyone who has relationship difficulties is borderline. Just because your partner's an asshole, it doesn't mean they're a narcissist. Narcissistic personality disorder is less than 1% of most, I think it's not less than 1% of the population. It's like a very small percentage of any of the diagnoses that are given out. It is very rare to actually be a narcissist. But that word is thrown around like anyone who's just not a nice person is told that they're a narcissist. It's been blowing my mind, which is why I wanted to have this conversation so that we can, all of us, be more aware and use all of these terms correctly so we can all grow and get better. Now I will stop talking.
Well, when you initially brought this concept to the table, B, I think that you and I had if I can recall, it was a slight rumble because I can understand both sides of the fence to this, right? Like how genuinely I would agree with you with respects to how we live in a day of age where we're clicks away from so much information and so many different authors to that information, right? So you can literally Google what is a narcissist and you have billions of different resources literally fingertips away, which is awesome, whether that's Google, whether that's on a social media platform. And then you have everyone and their mother commenting about it, even, us right now here, right? So what I think is really cool about that is that it's extremely empowering, right? Like I know that there's people who have now been able to put words, concepts, and tendencies on personal experiences, behaviors, traumas, etc., that they've experienced, but yet never had words to articulate what that was. So now we have a global shared meaning. However, the interpretations are very different of what that meaning is. And that's going from empowerment and awareness, which is, again, I'm right there with you. Like I'm all for understanding our mental health, understanding behavioral tendencies, understanding the depths of psychology, sociology, all the inners and outers of what the human experience is. However, like everything else, if taken into huge extremes and not digging a lot into the actual scientific research, it can actually be weaponizing. And a lot of people, what we do find is that the verbiage that people are just starting to learn, it's like imagine going into the woods with like a group of friends, right? You start walking in, you guys have committed to walking through this trail. It's awesome hiking. Everyone knows that I'm a hiker if you're listening to this. So like going and finding a new trail is like so fun, right? It's an adventure. And then you go into this trail and all of a sudden you start to stumble upon like this like cool, like hidden golden castle. It's like, oh my God, these things exist. Like it's a little golden castle that if you go into the door, you start to teleport, right? It's this huge, incredible adventure that you have. Typically what happens is you want to kind of bring your friends that are coming along the hike. Look at this castle, right? It's a golden castle. This is what it is. Instead of trying to get curious about it and really understand where this golden castle came from, how was it constructed, what is it not, right? That's what I feel like a lot of people are doing. I know, and I've seen this. A lot of people will be really excited to finally learn and feel like they've been seen and heard when it comes to the terminologies or tools that are brought out in therapy, but then they start weaponizing the tool, right? So it's not just like, oh, this is an awesome golden castle, come see it, right? It's now, well, let's throw this around as if it has no weight to it. And that's where the weaponizing of these tools that are really, really, they can be really transformative if they're used in the right context, the right setting, and someone who's using them understands the ramifications of use. However, what I have found is that, and this is not like, I'm not shaming or blaming any practitioners or therapists or clinicians or whatever, or even people out there scrolling. When they do find something, it's like, oh, yes, this person, my ex, because of XYZ, is a narcissist. Or like, yes, this is what this person, they're gaslighting me. And to the story that you shared, I'm going to set a boundary and therefore you're a bad girlfriend if fill in the blank, right? Now, I'm all for us understanding and evolving our consciousness and understanding like ourselves and our experience at a deeper level. But where do we start to draw the line? If you're someone that's throwing around terminology, do you understand the depths of it? Do you understand where a tool is just as deadly as where it's effective? And for the large majority of what I've seen is a lot of people don't understand when you're using a therapy tool or a cognitive tool or a neurological rewiring tool in a specific setting, it actually can do the opposite effect, right? Like I'll talk to you or Alan or whatever about like, if I were to go and use this therapy or cognitive or whatever tool, this would actually be traumatizing for some person. And if they were to take that tool and just go around and start sharing it with everyone that they know without understanding the ramifications of it, that could be really detrimental. That could really rock someone's world, right? Awareness, it's so empowering, but it can also be slightly toxic.
It's like people are using these terms to just justify what they're already doing. Like if you're like this partner, right? This person, she really struggles having deep conversations because they're uncomfortable for her. So It's easy to just set a boundary around it and say, hey, well, this is my boundary, so you can't talk about it. It's like, well, that's not having a boundary. That's not being able to have a deep, intimate conversation with your partner.
Yeah, it's just like researching something, but not being willing to go into the actual, like researching, i.e. typing in the Google search bar, but not actually being willing to read like a 90-page research paper on like the actual data that represents that finding, theory, etc. Right? It's the same thing.
Or even like gaslighting or like trauma bonding or what is it called? Like grooming or all of these terms that, again, I'm so glad that we now have the terminology, like you said, Em, to talk about these things, and people who really have had these things happen, they can have the terminology to express it. But at what point are these terms being overused and they lose their depth? Like, if you are sad for 2 days, you are not depressed. You're sad. And that's okay. But it takes away the experience of someone who actually is experiencing clinical depression when everyone just says they're depressed. Because when someone's actually depressed, it's like, oh, you're just sad. You're fine. Go figure it out. Or when anyone who's having a little erratic behavior, I was talking to my supervisor about this the other day, Em, and I think I told you about this. Everybody gets slapped with a bipolar diagnosis. And it's like, you are not bipolar. You have never experienced a manic episode. You are not bipolar. You might have like a little chaotic behavior, but you're not bipolar. And it's like, it's just easy to throw these words around than it is to actually look at what is really going on and having to actually say, maybe this isn't that. Maybe this is something else, and let's figure it out. So I know we got to start wrapping up, but my intention for this episode was really for us to start, like all of us as listeners, right? For all of you listeners, everyone who's here every single week, so that we can start being better, so that we can have a really deeper understanding of what these things really are, so that we can make change, so that we can show up better, so that we can help the people in our lives better, and not just slapping terms and diagnoses on people, because that's not fair. Like, so many of my clients are like, I've been given this diagnosis and I have been like torn a new one by doctors and professionals and people in my life. And it's like, I don't even have that diagnosis. What would have happened if I was never given that? Or if you're just saying like, well, I hate your mother, so that's a boundary. I don't ever want to be around her. It's like, well, is that really a boundary? Or do you just not want to have to do something difficult? Like, and again, there's a fine line, right?
This is a spectrum. Yes.
This is not saying boundaries are not real. Boundaries are 100% real.
So important.
But what is the intention underneath it? That's really what sets it up. So, any final closing thoughts before we wrap this up?
I mean, we got into some words, but we didn't necessarily get into the tools. But to this, we talked about some of the tools throughout the episode. And so my final thoughts would be anything taken into an extreme or unconsciously thrown out there will be toxic. And so being mindful and bringing more consciousness into what you learn and digging deeper and understanding more at a holistic view, right, is really, really critical as it pertains to mental health, as it pertains to new tools that you find, as it pertains to the shiny objects of awareness or words or whatever to describe your experience, right? I've seen so many people benefit from finally being diagnosed, right? They're finally heard and seen and valued in their truth for the first time. But I've also seen, this go into complete opposite ends of the spectrum. Anything and everything can become toxic if not used appropriately. And we gave the example like coffee in another episodes, right? It's great. It gives you an initial boost in moderation. But if you were to like start munching on a bag of coffee beans, you'd be, like getting your stomach pumped. Same thing with water even. You drink too much of that taken into the extreme and good luck, So those are my parting thoughts, and my episode suggestion is 124, the biggest secret to growth, because I think that underneath that episode is an underlying hue of conversation around how growth, is so vital, just like understanding and getting more tools and equipping yourself and awarenesses and everything. But if you're not applying them in a phased and approach, how that can actually also be toxic. So how about you?
So the tools that we were talking about in the episode were like throwing diagnoses around and the terminology that's being used that is now like mainstream to everyone. So that's what the tools were that we were referring to in this episode. My episode suggestion is 167. It's one that we just recently did. Why therapy never works.
Oh, baby. Baby.
What do we have coming down the pipeline for people to be excited about?
Get excited, y'all. I'm super excited. I was just talking to another person about this and they're like thrilled for us. So anyways, we have Evolve group coaching coming down the pipeline. It's going to be an intimate setting for those who are excited for growth. And it's if you find yourself learning, not only learning, but growing better, and that excites you to do it with a group of people, of like-minded people that are on the similar journey as you, this is a great opportunity. This is going to be the first one that Bianca and I do. We have years of research of our experience of client stories that we're going to be bringing into the fold. Bianca and I have a whole curriculum planned, and it's going to be easing all of us into breaking the cycles that really do keep us stuck. And so that's coming out. It's going to be, we're kind of finalizing some of the details, but it's going to be a multi-week series, and we're going to be able to do it live on Zoom, and it's going to be really awesome. So I'm looking forward to it. There's already so many people that have asked us about it, and there's going to be some surprises along the way. So if you're someone who really loves like the team setting of growth, if say, for example, you love sports or you love, doing a community-based thing. This is exactly what we have coming in the pipeline for you. So that's going to be launching at the end of Q1, which is coming very quick. So we have an early bird sign up where early bird pricing will be available right after Q1 for a limited time only. So if you're someone that wants to take advantage of that, there is a early bird sign up link that will be posted in the show notes for you.
Thank you so much, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Bye everyone.